Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Ah, Smart Water, now in a sleek can.
This feels cool, literally.
Perfect for social gatherings and on the go.
Should I start wearing turtlenecks?
One sip at a time, friend. Smart Water cans, for those with a taste for taste. Get yours today.
The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Roger Stone Show. Joining me now is the newest member of Congress, elected in a special election in the 1st District of Florida, Jimmy Patronis, who served as the chief financial officer for the state of Florida, where he gained a reputation as a dogged protector of Florida's taxpayers, is now a member of Congress and has joined the America First Brigade in the U.S. House of Representatives. Jimmy Patronis, welcome to the Roger Stone Show.
Roger, it's an honor to join you. Thank you.
So let me ask you, how do you like being a member of Congress? It's very different. You had an executive position previously. Now you're in a legislative position. You're one of 536 members. It has to be quite different.
Yeah, look, I did some time in the Florida legislature, 8 years in the Florida House, and it's a part-time legislature. All the mechanics are the same. There's just a lot more bodies to work with. And look, it's nice when in Florida we had a pretty significant margin to work with. Here, with as tight as things are, bringing, bills in for a landing it's a lot tougher, especially when you've got so many states that have different fiscal positions that they're in, and it's doing what they're doing, members of Congress representing their states. So there's definitely been some infighting amongst Republicans on how to bring in this one critical, big, beautiful bill.
Yeah, I want to get to that in just a minute. I like Speaker Johnson. I think he has a very, very, very difficult job. People like to attack him, like to criticize him, but he has to get a majority of his caucus to vote for anything, and he's got a relatively diverse caucus. There are some establishment Republicans who don't want to rock the boat. There are others who really favor radical reform, and he still has to get a majority. So I have great sympathy for the Speaker. Sometimes I wish he'd be a little tougher, but by and large, I think he's a good man. I think he's doing the best he can with a diverse caucus. You make reference to the big, beautiful bill, which is a bill that focuses on the president's tax priorities. First and foremost, of course, is the extension of the 2017 Trump tax cuts. Now, the bill aims to make permanent the individual tax cuts from 2017, which are set to expire after this year. This includes lower income tax rates across all brackets, an increased standard deduction, and other provisions. Now, the truth is that the extension is estimated to cost around $3.8 trillion to $4 trillion over 10 years. But if you are not for the extension of the Trump tax cuts, you are de facto, therefore, favoring the largest tax increase in American history, no?
You're 100% accurate. And so you've got members that make really good arguments about provisions in the big, beautiful bill that they would like to see implemented. And it's hard, but the alternative is just not acceptable. So, I mean, and then we still have to hope that we get a cooperative Senate to take up what we're going to do. And look, I love the Senate, but there's members of the United States Senate, and their disposition is, I was here before Donald Trump, and I'm going to be here after Donald Trump. And they just don't quite have the type of urgency that the House does, being that they're on the ballot every 2 years.
The big, beautiful bill, of course, also includes ending the tax on tips, which I think was a crucial policy maneuver and proposal in the 2024 election. I think it single-handedly tipped Nevada, a swing state, to us. My sister is a member of the Culinary Workers Union, which is what they call the hotel and bartenders union in Atlantic City. She tells me that while her shop stewards were telling her to vote for the Democrats, that she and all of the other women that she worked with were voting for President Trump on the basis of his no tax on tip proposal. Also, the big beautiful bill includes no tax on overtime pay, removes a federal income tax on overtime wages aimed at supporting workers who earn additional income through extra hours. It also includes no tax on Social Security benefits for seniors. To me, this is a no-brainer. It exempts Social Security benefits from federal income tax, providing relief for retirees. It also increases the state and local tax SALT deduction cap. Now, we're going to talk about in a second. It raises the SALT deduction cap from $10,000 to $30,000 for joint filers and $15,000 for individuals. Now, this seems to me to be somewhat unfair to people in lower tax states like Florida, and to reward people in high tax states like New York. And there, I guess, lies the rub.
You're exactly right. You know, Daddy used to say, if you want to get somebody's attention, you get in their pocketbook. And that's exactly what President Trump did this past election cycle. He listened to the voters as he traveled all around the country in that campaign, and, you know, knew that we had to take this election as serious as it was, because this is the future for our children and our grandchildren. So, I mean, those issues are really what motivated so many, at least in my opinion, non-typical voters to get out and support President Trump. But now we've got to deliver. And to your point regarding the SALT issue, you know, this is a rub as states that live within their means, like Florida. We've been the beneficiary of 400,000 new net Floridians last year alone. And what you've got is as I talk to people, I was in the restaurant business for 30 years, so I'm always trying to figure out, how do I get a repeat customer? I can't unprogram myself. And I ask folks that have moved to the state of Florida, you know, why did you move here? And, you know, usually I'm thinking it's the snow, it's their kids are down here, their grandkids are down here at work. Every single one I've talked to always points to taxes as their primary reason. They want to hold on to more of their money, and they're making that decision with their feet, and they're leaving the states where there is no state income tax and where they can keep more of their money.
Yeah, the big beautiful bill also includes an increased child tax credit, temporarily increases the child tax credit by $500, bringing it up to $2,500 per child to support families. Increased estate tax exemption, raises the estate tax exemption to $15 million, reducing the tax burden on larger inheritances. No taxes on car loan interest for American-made cars. This is ingenious, in my opinion. Provides a deduction for interest on car loans for vehicles manufactured here in the United States, which, of course, encourages domestic production, supporting buyers. 100% expenses for U.S. investors, allows businesses to fully deduct the cost of certain investments in the year they are made, which, of course, promotes economic growth. And tax cuts, of course, for American-made products. Once again, putting America first by introducing tax incentives for products manufactured in this country. It also, by the way, closes various tax loopholes, ends tax breaks for billionaire sports team owners, and closes the carried interest loophole, which benefits high-income investors, to offset some costs of the tax cuts. The other key point here is the total tax cuts are estimated to range from $4.1 trillion to over $5 billion. But those, of course, are static numbers. The truth is, and anyone who's honest knows this, that every time we have cut taxes across the board, whether it was under Donald Trump, whether it was under Ronald Reagan, whether it was under John F. Kennedy, we have seen a sharp spike in federal revenues. Our inflation is not caused, our deficits are not caused by the fact that the American people are undertaxed. Our deficits and inflation are caused by the fact that we spend too much. When we come back, I'm going to talk to Jimmy Patronis, the newest member of Congress, about that issue and how we get federal spending under control. If you're just tuning in, this is the Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Audio Networks, and we're talking to Jimmy Patronis, the former chief financial officer for the state of Florida and the newest minted member of the Republican caucus, who is, I can tell you, a bulldog fighter for the taxpayers, a man who takes the America First agenda extremely seriously, the kind of guy you would want fighting for you in Congress. We'll be right back with more of Jimmy Patronis. Whatever you do, please don't touch that dial.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit TemptationsTreats.com to learn more.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge. This episode is brought to you by Loom by Atlassian. Are you feeling stuck at work? Get your team unstuck with Loom video messaging and move work forward. Use Loom to simultaneously record both your screen and yourself to share a quick update, provide feedback, train a colleague, and everything in between. Plus, add Loom AI to your meetings for instant written notes and recordings. Try Loom today at Loom.com. That's LOOM.com.
This episode is brought to you by GMC. GMC certified service technicians are factory trained to fit your vehicle with the tires specifically developed for it. And with our tire price match guarantee, you get the best fit for the best deal. Let us do the work. Available on select eligible tire brands at participating dealers only. Offer ends 12/31/2025. Terms apply. See dealer for complete details. Visit gmc.com/service to learn more.
The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back. President Donald Trump has agreed to negotiate with Iran, but he's insisting the Iranians cannot have a program to enrich uranium or build nuclear weapons. Former U.S. Senator from New Jersey, Bob Torricelli, a harsh critic of the Iranian regime and a vocal supporter of Iranian resistance, joins us to talk about that. You're not going to want to miss that. We return now to our interview with my friend Jimmy Patronis, the newest member of Congress, recently elected to fill the seat of my friend Congressman Matt Gaetz, who resigned, leaving a vacancy in Florida's 1st District. Jimmy Patronis, I can tell you firsthand, is a dogged fighter for the American taxpayers, and I sleep better at night knowing that he's in the House. He's not one of these go-along, get-along politicians interested only in re-election. He is a man who stands up for the America First agenda, and we're honored to have him today. Jimmy, on Friday, the big, beautiful bill failed to leave the Budget Committee, where fiscal hawks snubbed the bill, a setback for the Speaker and leadership. The House Budget Committee voted 16-21 against advancing the fiscal year reconciliation bill, also known as the Big, Beautiful Bill, with 5 of your colleagues, Ralph Norman, Chip Roy, Josh Breachin, Andrew Clyde, and Lloyd Smucker, joining all the Democrats in opposition. All good men, I might add. The bill faced resistance from some conservative dissenters over issues like the timeline for repealing the green energy tax credits, the Medicaid work requirement delays, and the lack of a full CBO score. I kind of wonder whether the CBO is outdated and whether we really need their score. But as you know, one member switched their vote so that therefore the proposal can be reconsidered by the House and by the committee. What's going to happen here, Jimmy?
So, the one thing I think that a lot of there's a little bit of expansion states versus non-expansion states fight here also. And so I know in Florida, we would like to see the work requirement kick in. And so the thought is, all right, well, we can try to get the work requirement implemented by 2029. And so myself, a number of us feel like that's not soon enough. Every year we force a work requirement to kick in sooner. That's hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars of savings that we can realize and save the taxpayers. And, I'm a big believer that the citizens of Congressional District 1 and the citizens of the state of Florida, that matter, spend their money better than Washington does. So this is one way we can realize some savings. I know there's those out there that say that, well, the reason why we're not forcing the work requirement in for 4 years is because we've got to allow those states to figure out how to transition to do it. And you know what? In Florida, our attitude is that's not our problem. And so that's a little bit of a rub that Florida congressmen have. And it's not just Florida. This is also kind of a lot of where these same members who voted against it in the budget committee this week.
So what are you hearing from the Trump base on the bill? Because I'm hearing a mix of things. I'm hearing some concerns over the growing of the defense budget, raising the debt ceiling. But on the other hand, a lot of the president's supporters agree when he says we have to dig ourselves out of this hole first, and that revenues coming in from his tariff implementation, as well as revenues coming in just from tax cuts, which is a historically proven. Sorry, Robert Reich. I went to high school with Robert Reich, by the way. He was wrong then. He's wrong now. You remember him? He was the labor secretary under.
I remember him.
Insists that the deficit was caused by tax cuts on working families. Also, these are the same folks who keep insisting that Trump wants to cut taxes on the wealthy, on the billionaires, when we both know these tax cuts are across the board. But what are you hearing back home about the big, beautiful bill?
So here's part of the challenge. As President Trump campaigned on these different issues, the no tax on tips, Social Security, overtime, just like anybody who's starting out a business for the first time, a lot of times you have to borrow money. You have to go into debt in order to turn the business into a profitable enterprise. This is no different than what the president's trying to do. The policies that he's advocating for are going to need some breathing room. Look, I'm not thrilled about raising the debt ceiling, but I know that if we want to give these policies that the president is pushing for to have a chance, he's going to need some bandwidth to do it. So, this is part of an explanation that we have with our constituents. And ultimately, the president won. It wasn't just a small win. It was an unquestionable win this past November. People were fed up with what they had the previous 4 years with the auto pen running our country. And they were ready for a real leader to step back into the White House and take over and make us respectable again. So yeah, we've got to give some real trust to the president. And the good thing about it is when I got elected in the special election, I tell people, I said, I don't know if Jimmy got elected, but I know Donald Trump got reelected in that special election.
Well, I think your election was a reaffirmation. They said, by the way, that the other special election in Florida, I think it was the 6th district, Mike Walsh's district, they kept telling us that was going to be close, that we might even lose, and the Republican candidate there ended up winning, I think, slightly bigger than you did, which so much for that argument. I have yet to meet a single person, any place, who tells me they regret voting for Donald Trump. Not one. Not a single one.
That's right. That's right. And look, the president, I just look at what he did with tariffs to start. A lot of people question. I said, when the president goes as broad as he did with the reciprocal tariffs, we don't have all the details yet because that's the art of negotiation. But, how many countries just came to the president and blindly said, you know what, mercy, I don't even want to negotiate with you because our relationship with the U.S. economy is too important. This is what we're willing to do right now. And it's only a matter of time before we're going to see the fruit from those actions that the president has gone out and negotiated.
I completely agree. I was very proud of him watching him in the Middle East. First of all, his energy and his stamina just astounds me. I mean, he's 78 years old, I believe. I'm 72. I'm exhausted just doing this show, and he just keeps plowing ahead. I mean, it's amazing. I work for 3 presidents. He is the hardest working president that I have ever seen or been associated with. His energy level, his stamina, you can see he's having the time of his life, by the way. He's a happy warrior. He's happy winning for America. All right, I'm afraid we have to leave it there. I want to thank our guest, Jimmy Patronis, a newly minted Republican member of Congress. Coming up on the other side, former U.S. Senator from New Jersey, Bob Torricelli, a Democrat, longtime critic of the Iranian regime, and also a supporter of the Iranian resistance, joins us to talk about that issue and the president's trip to the Middle East. So whatever you do, don't go away. We'll be right back on The Roger Stone Show.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.